In an effort to streamline the district's hose loads, an R&D process was developed through the Fire Operations Committee. In the near future, after training has been completed, the 200-foot jump line will be converted to a modified flat load with a 50-foot bundle on top on all suppression apparatus, including the E1s. This load gives us the ability to have the same hose loads on all suppression apparatus throughout the fire district.
All right, today we're going to be talking about hose loads on the engines for St. Lucie County. We have three different options. We have an E1, we have a Pierce, and we have a Slcfd. All of them are a little different. The goal here is to standardize the hose loads. We want the hose loads to be as common as possible. So when you're swinging out to a different station, there's no question on how you pull that hose load. They're all going to be loaded a little different, which we're going to go over, but they're all going to pull virtually the same way. And that's what we're going to show you here today.
Safely exit the truck and navigate onto the step. Completely remove the net so that it doesn't get hung up when deploying the hose. Grab the top dog ear, pulling it onto your right shoulder. Once the pack is positioned on your shoulder, turn, grab the left dog ear, and complete deployment of the hose. The hose will pay out behind you as you advance towards the building. The engineer can make sure that the hose is completely deployed from the truck. Navigate the yard till you get about 20 to 25 feet away from the door that you want to make entry into. Drop the pack on the ground, releasing the straps, then grab the hose at the coupling and the nozzle and advance towards the door.
All right, so now we're going to show you how to load the 200-foot jump line on the E1 trucks. When you have the hose load, you want to isolate the 50-foot nozzle section, uncouple it, take it off, separate it, and you're going to take the 150 feet that's left and you're going to find the middle. So we've already marked our middle piece, and then we separate the male side and the female side from the hose load. So you can see here we have the male on one side, the female on the other, and then we have our 50-foot or our 150-foot marker. So we take the female side and we're going to load that one first. We put our marked piece on the end of the basket, and we work together to ensure that we have a nice even load. And you load this all the way up till you get to the coupling on top. Seeing as we have the discharge on top of the truck on the E1, we're able to attach to the discharge easily. We want to make sure when we're loading, all our hose loads are folded evenly and the same. If it looks good, it's going to pull good. So now that we have the female end done, the female coupling sitting on top, it's ready to be coupled into the truck. Now on the male side, we put a dog ear on the bottom of each side so that this load can be pulled either way. We measure the dog ear from the bottom around the basket to the handle. Again, we're making sure our folds are nice and even. Looks good, pulls good. Take the time to do it right. And when we're done, we end up with the female side and the male side on top of the load. The female side's obviously going to be coupled to the truck. The male side's going to be coupled into our 50-foot hose bundle that we'll show you how to do next. All right, so for the last section, you can see we took the 50-foot nozzle section and we used the basket to measure how long to make the set. And we just did a flat accordion load, if you will, just back and forth. At the end of the load, we put 2 dog ears, a little bit shorter than the initial dog ear that we put on the load, and then we attach the straps. When we put the straps on, if you have any excess, you can tuck it into the load. And then we want to make sure that we're getting the nozzle securing the nozzle with the strap. That way it doesn't fly around when we're pulling the bundle. We also want to make sure that we leave the female side, the female coupling, out of the strap. That way we're able to attach it easier to the hose load. All right, so when we're ready, we can pick the hose load up. They're going to hold it. I'm going to attach the female end to the male. We want to make sure that our dog ears are on the same side. Now, when we're ready to load the basket back into the truck, there's a couple of things we want to be aware of. One of them is we want to try to load from the officer side of the truck. The discharge is on the driver's side of the truck. It makes it a little bit easier for clearance-wise to get the basket into the truck. So when we load it, we also want to make sure that we're tucking the folds. We'll take those out later once we get it in there, but because of the baskets, when we slide it in, it has a tendency to get stuck under the basket. It makes it almost impossible to pull the hose load out. So we want to make sure that we're tucking these hose loads into the stack just while we put the hose onto the truck. All right, so now we're going to pick up the hose. We have the nozzle on the officer's side. Just makes it easier with the discharge, but we want to make sure the female discharge is pointed right at the other end of the truck so we can put it in. You see that hose, the flap came out? Here, I got it. That's what happens if we don't tuck it in. We also want to make sure there's somebody on the other side of the truck to help guide the basket in if there's any issues. And they're also able to make sure that those folds don't get folded under the basket itself. Now with the nozzle on this side, we're able to check the pattern of the nozzle every morning. Then the last thing we need to do is make sure we ensure that this truck, that the hose is attached to the discharge. All right, so now we're going to talk about the Slcfd 200-foot jump line. When we pull that line, it's going to be virtually the same as with the E1 and with the Pierce. Loading it will be a little different, but we'll see that later. So at this point, we're going to go over the loading procedure for the 200-foot line on the Slcfd. It's a very easy procedure. It's actually the same exact procedure that we use for the 150. Modified flat load, and then instead of putting a nozzle on the end, you put the 50-foot bundle on the end, which makes it 200 feet. Nozzle section, we use a 6-foot roof hook to measure the span of the compartment. It's about right where it needs to be. So once again, we use an accordion load. Nozzle goes on one end. We do an accordion back and forth till we get to the bottom, where we do a dog ear on one side, a dog ear on the other side. We leave the female coupling out. We put our straps on, making sure we strap in the nozzle so it doesn't flop around, and we secure the bundle.
Once the 150 feet is loaded onto the truck and the bundle is created on the ground, bring the bundle to the top of the truck. You can use the roof of the cab to position the bundle while you make the connection at the 1 3/4 coupling. Make your connections snug, then position the hose pack on the truck in the bed so that both dog ears are accessible from either side of the truck.
All right, so now we're going to talk about the 150-foot jump line on the E1 trucks. A little bit different, pulls the same, right? But when we load it, we actually use the bigger tray. So there's a bigger tray. Sometimes it's on this side. We put the bigger tray with our 1 3/4 hose because this is 1.88 hose, not 1.75 hose. The tray's a little bigger, makes it easier to slide in and out. We don't have any issues with it. A high-rise pack is in this section, and we have our 150 jump line here. All right, a couple of things I just want to touch real quick is when we're taking this net, it's better. Some people just like to undo the bottom ones. It's better if we just remove the whole thing. That way we don't get any hang-ups. Toss it to the side. We can put it back on later. The other thing with the 150 load, we want to pull this nozzle out, right? And then we can pull the whole stack with it. And you'll see that when we pull the hose load next. So we take a dog ear, we take our nozzle, we fold it back over itself to create the dog ear. And we can measure the dog ear to the top of the tray. That's how we know where to be. And then we do a dog ear on the other side to mirror. And then we just flat load stack it up, 8 flakes. And you can see we don't bring the hose stack all the way up to the nozzle yet. We do 2 flakes just short, and then we fold it all the way in the tray, and then we bring it up to the bale for the rest of the stacks. And we'll use this end, we'll count up to 6 flakes, including the dog ear, and then we'll cross it over and just do a regular flat on the other side. You can see all the stacks are nice and even. If it looks good, it's going to pull good. We're going to keep going until the female discharge is on the top. And we want to end up with the female coupling over here by the nozzle so that we can attach it easily to the discharge. All right, so now we've completed the loading the hose into the basket, into the tray. We have our nozzle on one side, we have our discharge that's going to match that side. Now when we pick up this tray to load it in, we want to make sure that these loops, that these dog ears don't get stuck under the tray. So we want to take these and we're going to put them just right in here. That way when we pick it up and load it, they don't get stuck. We don't have any problem. You want to get that side? So we'll have somebody on the other side making sure that nothing's getting hung up on the load. We'll pull that flake out and then we'll attach the discharge.